Welcome to the Becoming babyREADY podcast, your podcast for queer family planning. My name is Sam, and throughout this podcast, you'll hear me have conversations with professionals who work alongside people who want to start and grow their families, as well as parents of intentionally created families. Everyone I speak to identifies as being part of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community. This is your opportunity to learn answers to questions you didn't even know you had. Queer family planning is not for the faint of heart. It can be charged with lots of emotion, and we can be on many highs followed immediately by many lows, and it can be difficult to know how to navigate these feelings. How do we set a positive mindset? How do we make sure that we are meeting our own emotional needs? Well, today I'm speaking with Ashlee Livingstone, who's a breathwork facilitator. And part of what we talk about is regulating our breathing to help us sleep better, help our nervous system function better, help us breathe better, help us process better, and just calm our systems down when we're dealing with all of the emotions and fear and anxiety that can come as we create our families. Welcome, everyone. I'm excited today to introduce you again, because if you've listened to this podcast for a period of time, then you've heard this person's voice before when talking about boundaries. This time, I'm joined by Ashlee Livingstone, and we're going to talk a little bit about mindset and your nervous system regulation as it pertains to family creation. So this deviates perhaps a little bit from hearing people's queer family planning stories and really focuses on some of the mindset that you may have throughout the process. It's easy to get mired down in the minutia of all of the things you need to have happen to you, all the appointments you need to make, how much things are costing. So today we're going to just break down some of the emotion stuff that we can do to support ourselves through the process, or our partners. If you're listening and you're not the one that's going to carry, you've got a surrogate or you're adopting or your partner's going to carry. Let's just break it all down. So welcome, Ashlee. Glad to have you back.
Thank you, Sam. I'm so excited to be back here and having another conversation. I love this topic, and I absolutely love just getting into the emotional side of things, and seeing how I can be a small part in supporting people as they navigate this sometimes roller coaster of a ride journey.
It is. It can be for many people. Can you tell me, I guess let's start at the beginning. When in a process or in a thinking about process, would you connect with someone to sort of make sure that they're on the right footing?
Mm. I actually feel like it's at the very beginning. It's part of your care plan
Mm-hmm.
to be taking care of yourself. And I think oftentimes our stress level or our nervous system regulation, our mindset, it all seems secondary compared to, I'll even just say, like the science and logistics
Mm-hmm.
behind the process. Um, there can be a lot of to-dos and a lot of planning that goes into this. And what I have personally experienced and know so many who have gone through, whether it's like building their family in a fertility standpoint or using outside resources, is there's a lot of emotion, a lot of stress. There can be a lot of worry and doubt and even anxiety that starts to build as you navigate this process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
You, I think most of us kind of understand that mindset is the way we think about things and how we tell ourselves to think about things. And hopefully we have some understanding of how to control some of that or how to set that ball in motion. But before we kind of get into that so much, can you sort of tell me, what does it mean, nervous system regulation? I mean, it sounds pretty how could I, who doesn't even see my nervous system, know how
Mm,
to regulate it?
yeah, I think that's a great question. And so I often see my nervous system, if you will, as more like this rope inside of me. Okay. So I'm a very visual person, so bear with me. And every time I'm stressed out or afraid, I see that rope tightening and twisting upon itself. And if you've ever twisted a rope over and over and over again, it gets stuck. It gets really almost knotted into itself. And to release it, like you can't just like loosen it a little bit, right? It doesn't really budge. So I always think about my nervous system like that rope. Like there are moments when absolutely it's going to tighten. I am going to be stressed. There are going to be, fears that are coming up, and that rope should naturally tighten. I
Hmm.
should pop into survival mode. My sympathetic part of my nervous system should activate because that is the part that is responsible for keeping me safe.
Hmm.
That is our fight, our flight. It's biological there, right? That
Hmm.
is part of us. But what happens is when we stay stuck in that part of our nervous system, we don't drop down into our parasympathetic nervous system that is responsible for our rest and our digest, and where so many beautiful things can happen. And we really should be able to move fluidly between our parasympathetic nervous system and our sympathetic and then come back. So it's a little bit of a beautiful back and forth instead of this super tight knotted rope where we are stuck in survival mode. We're stuck in fear. And when I talk about regulating our nervous systems, it is so that we have an opportunity, our bodies have an opportunity to experience safety, for our bodies to experience rest, those clear, calm moments when you're not stressed, you're not overthinking everything or worrying about things. And there's so much power in being in that space.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You mentioned being stuck in fear. How do you get yourself out of that space? Because, I mean, the fear is real. If
Mm-hmm.
somebody deeply, truly wants to become a parent, and that's really all they ever envisioned for themselves. I mean, yes, they may want to be a paramedic and they may want to be an electrician, they may want to, you know, be a school librarian. They may want these things, but at their core, they feel like I need to be someone's parent. And so
Mm-hmm.
they're surrounded by this fear that this may not ever happen for them. How
Yeah.
do I how do I move past that? How do I dispel some of this fear?
Yeah. So one of my favorites, and granted, I am slightly biased as a breathwork facilitator, but I have found breath work to be a really beautiful space of releasing or at least facing my fear. And I kind of back up a little bit when that fear comes, a lot of people either are just like it's fear, it's fear, it's fear. I'm afraid, I'm afraid. But they don't actually sit in what are they so afraid of
Mhm.
and peel back the layers because we don't actually want to sit in that uncomfortable space,
Mhm.
right? Of, okay, so I'm afraid of not becoming a parent, but why? Well, I'm afraid then my life, like, what does that mean about you? What story have you created or has society kind of put on you that you're carrying around,
Mhm.
right? And believing to be true.
Mhm.
So I like to get to kind of that root of what is behind the fear. And in breath work, we actually can get ourselves into a meditative state through the conscious awareness of breathing, and we can release that fear, or we can at least release some of the fear.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's part of that practice of breathing out and actually letting go as you breathe. Hearing that inner voice, your intuition, and trusting it. Trusting that even at the core, if you do not become a parent, you are still worthy. You are still lovable. Your life still matters. All of these stories that we tell ourselves, they're just stories.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they fuel our fear so much.
So take us obviously just on a high level overview. We're not going to do a full breathwork session here, but give us a high level overview of what does that mean to do a breathwork session? I mean, I think that some people have some ideas and other people are going to be completely oblivious to it. So can you give us a bit of a high level overview?
Yeah. So breathwork is the conscious act of being aware of your breath, right? Everyone right now listening, you and I, we are all breathing unconsciously. And that's the beauty of the breath is our bodies do it unconsciously, and we can also manipulate and control our breath. We can't do that with our heartbeat, right? We can't do that with so many parts of us, but the breath we can. And so breath work is the act of conscious breathing. So tracing and tracking your breath as it moves in and moves back out. So anyone right now, even if you take a really big deep breath in through your nose and then back out through your nose, you can almost feel your whole body relax in just one breath. And that is just one quick example of how you can be, right? I'm talking a lot, so I'm activated. I can take one breath and my body relaxes. So being able to use tools like that for appointments, phone calls, more appointments, right? Anytime that you are entering situations where the stress level is climbing or your fear and anxiety is climbing, nose breathing nice and deep so that your entire abdomen expands and releases helps calm you down. It helps ground you. And then the other side of that is, and I always say this to my clients, there are times when the last thing I want is to be calmed down.
Fair.
Being calm can sometimes feel like we are suppressing how we are feeling. And doing an active breath in and out through your mouth. So almost like that Lamaze type breathing. The active breath can help us really push and move that stuck energy that we're feeling. So I personally do this a lot when I am feeling angry or frustrated. I don't want to just be calm. I can use the breath to, move that pent up energy. Maybe even on the exhale, I like moan or I yell a little bit. And that helps take whatever is, fueling my fire and gets it out of my body instead of going, no, you be quiet. And can be really helpful, but it is you consciously manipulating your breath. Excellent. In a way that serves you. Yeah.
Hold on for just a moment. We'll be right back. You know about babyREADY because you're listening to this podcast, so you know that we are all about queer family planning and helping you have the family of your dreams. But did you know that we don't abandon you once your baby arrives? We actually offer parenting coaching as well, and that's not just for the newborn phase, although we are there for that, but it's through toddlerhood and young children, tweens, and even through the teen years. When you need someone unbiased to lend an ear so that they can hear where your struggles truly are and help you come up with a path and a plan that feels truly right for you and your individual family, don't hesitate to reach out. We are always happy to be there for you. Visit us at www.babyready.info for more information. That's cool. But it is, you're right. You mentioned things like appointments. You're going to get blood draws. You're going to have your egg quality checked. You're going to meet with a surrogate. You're matching with an egg donor or a family for adoption or an individual for adoption. And like these things all come up and they all create a lot of emotional response from us. I want to ask you, as a queer identifying individual, how is it better for people to be working with you? And better is maybe not the word I want to use, but why would someone reach out to you who's in the process of starting this journey as opposed to someone else who's equally qualified, but is not part of the queer community?
Well, part of it is I'm part of the queer community. Stating the obvious there. No.
Right.
I've also been through this process, right? It was a bit of a different situation, so I will absolutely own that. But I have done the blood tests and the IVF treatments, and that is how I have my son. So not only am I part of the queer community, but I've also traveled that fertility journey in my own way. And so that piece, I know the heaviness. It's still like I still have a lot that lives inside of me of that journey. And I know the anticipation, I know the frustration, the sadness, the grief. And a lot of my clients right now have traveled a fertility journey of their own in some fashion. What I wish I had have known back then was the power of being in control, because I thought I was so out of control. I thought everything was outside of me. My appointments were set for me. I just really felt like I didn't have control over my body, over things working the way I really wanted it to work. And if I had have known about breath work or meditation, nervous system regulation, I think I would have handled this process, the ups and downs of it all, a lot better. Right? Just sharing from my own journey, the irritability, the secret sadness, just the emotional roller coaster that I went through, the disappointment, and also noticing how I started to, my body started to react as I continued to go to those appointments, right? Getting pretty sweaty or constantly feeling like I was about to cry at any moment. I just really did not have control over my emotional regulation because I was so dysregulated. I wasn't sleeping well. I wasn't able to focus. And breath work specifically has been a game changer for me and my clients in improving their quality of sleep, improving their ability to focus, catch themselves when your mind does start to, I call it rabbit hole, right? When we start to go down that dark tunnel, bring ourselves back so that in this world that seems so out of our control, we can really hone back in on what we have 100% control over, and that is ourselves.
Breathwork sounds to be an awful lot like meditation. Is it just, for lack of a better description, another form of meditation where some people may use guided imagery for meditation? In your particular instance, and what you do with your clients is breathwork meditation, reminding them to breathe and And when your mind wanders off, bring your
You can
breath
come
back.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a form of it. There are, scientific differences between breath work and meditation. What I love is that for anyone who says, I can't meditate, which is pretty much most people,
Mm-hmm.
the I can't meditate because I can't get my mind to focus or I can't sit still. Breath work doesn't require you to be still. It
Mm,
can if you want it to, but breath work allows you to keep moving, right? You can sit in a chair and you can breathe and you can move with the breath. You can shake your hands out. It doesn't have to be a still practice.
right.
Breath work also can lower your blood pressure, right? It really does. It can activate your vagus nerve, which triggers your parasympathetic nervous system. It can lower your heart rate. So, in the act of conscious breathing, there are a lot of scientific benefits as well.
Okay.
And meditation is fantastic for your mind and also allowing your body to rest and gain that focus. My preference is breath work just because I kind of get both of the best of both worlds.
Right.
The science side of things, but also the stillness and I'll call it the woo side of
Right.
things.
Fair enough. Sometimes we need a little woo-woo in our lives, right?
We do.
Are there any specific pearls of wisdom that you've learned over the years of doing this that your clients would be lucky to learn from you that they may not learn from anyone else?
Mm. I really think that the space that I create for people is really special.
Hmm.
That I use breath work for multiple purposes. The nervous system regulation, the stress, that consistent practice, the tips and tools for, okay, you need a quick reset, here you go. But also, as you navigate this process, as you have the ups and downs, as maybe some of your limiting beliefs are reinforced, as some of your fears are faced, we hold a lot inside of our bodies.
Hmm.
And when we then carry that into our parenthood journey, it shows up.
Yep.
It ends up, you know, step one is the becoming a parent journey.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and let's not forget about all of those things that we're then packing into the backpack and we're just like, we'll deal with that later. Well, it there is a time when it shows back up. So your fears, your limiting beliefs, and part of what I love to use breath work for and my coaching is to help people release that.
Hmm.
For you to understand, and I said this before, that you are a whole person, regardless of what you do, who you love, whether or not you become a parent, how successful you are exactly who you are meant to be.
Hmm.
And and I think that that is a very special sacred place that I get to guide people to.
That's pretty amazing. And I think that it's true that we do need to get to a point where we can understand, acknowledge, and accept who we are, where we
Mm.
are, and whether we continue to set different goals for ourselves to move ourselves forward or not. Where we are right now is where we're meant to be. It's hard to accept that sometimes, though.
Yeah. And listen, I'm still doing the work. And I think that that's maybe a piece to pass on is we are always a fully complete version of us and still a work in progress, right? Both
Yep.
things can exist.
Yep.
But as you navigate this journey, I think it's just really important to constantly create space for you to check
Hmm.
in with yourself, to quiet the noise around you, the
Hmm.
doctors, the professionals, I say that with air quotes, all of the noise, all of that like noise that is just coming at you,
Hmm.
and learn to really listen to yourself. Maybe it's the first time, but we always have the answers and can guide ourselves through so many tricky situations, so many uncomfortable situations. I wish I had have known that more
Hmm.
um, back in the day. However, it is serving me well now.
So you are a parent
Mm-hmm.
and you have a spouse. Do you
Yes.
use these techniques with them? Has your spouse learned these techniques as well?
Yes. So it's really funny. I'll share. My son told me the other day that I am a genius
Oh.
because somehow I managed to make money teaching people to do the one thing they know how to do, which is breathe.
He's
So
he's not
he's
wrong.
he's not wrong. Um, but in all honesty, he plays a lot of sports, and that, emotional adrenaline roller
Sure.
coaster. He is a 12-year-old boy who is learning how to breathe, to regulate his emotions, to calm his body down so that he creates that pause instead of the reaction.
Right.
And he calls me in to his room when he can't sleep, and he'll just say, "Mom, can you do that breathing thing?" And typically within the first minute, he is like out like a light.
Yeah.
So there is something to the peacefulness, the calm that comes with being able to regulate yourself.
Hmm.
And my wife as well, she's a first responder and sees and experiences a lot. And there is so much power in the pause.
Hmm.
And also when that is not safe,
Hmm.
because it's not always safe, there is so much power in the reflection that comes afterwards and being able to move and release what is not serving you,
Hmm.
um, in a very intentional way instead of bottling it up.
Yeah. Yeah. As a
So,
first
yeah.
responder, I'm sure she could let herself carry all kinds of horror around with
Mm,
her all the time. So
hmm.
you have to have a way to release that
Yeah.
and let that part go.
Yeah. And I think that's just such an important skill for all of us. And that's why I
Sure.
am so passionate about the work that we do, that, you know, nobody really needs to carry that with them.
No.
Right. And yet, so many of us just have this whole backpack full of
Hmm.
mean words, unfortunate experiences, disappointments, beliefs that actually are not serving us, and they're not even keeping us safe. They're actually just holding us back from truly getting to enjoy the process.
Yeah.
Right? Even as you enter this process, it may not be easy, it may not be straightforward, but maybe we can still enjoy it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right? Maybe
Yeah.
there are going to be those moments that we really get to celebrate. But when we are so stuck in the hard,
Hmm.
in the fear, we sometimes miss out on the opportunity to really let ourselves be present and enjoy it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Before I let you go, would you please let listeners know how they can contact you? And I happen to know you're based just west of Toronto in Ontario, Canada. I have listeners. I'm grateful to have listeners all around the world. Do you work with people all around the world? Are you limited to just being here in Ontario? How do they find you, and what is your geographic sort of boundary?
Yeah. So I work with people all over. I have really leaned into the virtual world, and I host all of my coaching and breathwork sessions online. So that allows it. I'm very big on wanting it to be accessible for people. I don't want physical location to be a barrier. So all of my sessions are done online, and I actually run a breathwork group. It's a monthly membership to encourage folks to have that consistent practice, to make it part of their daily, weekly self-care time. So there is that. And then I work with people one-on-one. That is my preferred method of working with folks. I find the work we dig into can be vulnerable. And I really want to create a space for people to share without judgment, without boundary, without fear of other input. So that's really how I work with people. And you can connect with me on Instagram. It's probably the best way to find me. And yeah, I would welcome your questions. I would welcome your curiosities, and even just be a voice, someone to listen and see if you want to ask and explore.
Perfect. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us and to talk with me so that listeners can learn more about what they can do for themselves to help their mental headspace going through this journey. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Sam.
Thank you for joining me today on the Becoming Baby Ready podcast. If you have a story that you'd like to share, or you know someone who might, if you're a professional who works in the capacity of helping people start and grow their families, and you identify as being a part of the 2S LGBTQIA plus community yourself, then please don't hesitate to reach out. We always have room for more stories to share, and there's always more learning to do.